When we think about Google, we think about innovation, excitement, years ago, even disruption. But now, given the size of Google, one would think it's a mega conglomerate. So one of the reasons one would split Alphabet and Google, was it to keep that drive, that entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah, well, part of it is if you look at the tech industry, there's a history of companies getting big really quickly and then they plateau or they struggle. It's hard to sustain that innovation and growth when you get big, and we've got 60,000 employees now. So we very much realize we may not have it all right. We may want to try different things. And so the Alphabet structure is all about giving all these different entrepreneurs, ranging from Sundar Pichai, who's running Google, to Tony Fadell, who's running Nest, the chance to kind of build their own thing within this bigger company and with the resources we can give them to be successful.
What is so special about this startup environment that makes employees, that makes leaders so excited?
I think part of it is you as an individual really feel like you're having an impact. I mean, it's amazing. On the Google side, right, you change a line of code, 1 billion people experience it every day, right? But at the same time, if you're Tony at Nest, you change something and you have hundreds of thousands, millions of people feeling things differently in their house every day. So that chance to sort of change something and impact the world right away the next day is enormous.
When you say feeling things, it takes me to all the people data you have at Google. Just a few years ago, your average person at a company didn't even want to fill out a 360 review. Many people in industries never even got reviewed. You have gone such a different direction. What does gathering all of this data and information about the way your employees feel, and I would say some old school people would say, like, feel, who cares, just do your job. Why does it make Google a better company? Why is it more effective?
Well, this might sound funny coming from Google, but feelings are everything, right? I mean, the whole point is you want people to feel happy and motivated and committed. There's all this data that suggests that when people are enjoying what they do and when they feel it's meaningful, they're more productive, they stay longer, and they have more impact. And those are all good things for the company eventually, but it's kind of also the right thing to do. So all this data and surveying is harnessed with the purpose of, first, how do you make people happier, and then goodness comes from that.
Okay, but what do we learn from it? When I think about Marissa Mayer and Yahoo, they gave their employees the opportunity to work from home, which in theory would make them very happy. She walked through her floors and said, where is everyone? This looks like a graveyard, and she pulled them back to work, saying they were unproductive. So where is the balance between getting your job done and making people feel good?
Well, generally, people will do the right thing if you give them the freedom to, and you give them some hint of where you're going. So we have a goal-setting process at Google where every quarter, everyone in the company sets goals, and they're transparent and visible to everybody else. So if you're kind of out in left field doing something crazy that doesn't matter to anybody else, yeah, your manager may let you know, but you'll also see it, and your peers, more importantly, will see it, and they'll go, hey, Laszlo, what you're doing is kind of crazy and out there and doesn't matter. Can you come work with the rest of us? And the problem at the 90% level fixes itself.
So when you collect data, for example, how many women within Google put themselves up for promotion? Why is that so valuable to know who's doing that? How about just go for some stretch assignments and give some high performers a big job? Why do you need data?
Well, the reason is because we don't make great decisions as human beings. We think we do. We think we're rational. We think we're objective. But there's all these things going on in our brain that make us make suboptimal, bad decisions. So, for example, we saw women were getting promoted on an engineering organization at a much higher rate than men. And there's no reason that should be the case, right? Women are just as smart, just as capable, have just as much impact. And when we dug into it, what we found was that the men nominate themselves for promotion. Because at Google, you do that. You just raise your hand and say, I'm ready. The men do it way before they're ready. And the women wait too long until they're more than ready. So we then went and just told everyone in the company, look, men are nominating more often, but women are more successful when they're nominated. Women, please nominate yourselves. And the problem completely went away. Women raised their hands earlier and more. And we would never have known that unless we'd looked at the underlying data about what the behavior of men versus women were.
So what's the advice? The advice is every company should collect that kind of data, or every employee should step up more. Because let's be honest, think about the kind of resources Google has versus your average company.
Well, I think there's a few things. One is absolutely step up more, but it's also not fair to put the onus on the people who are feeling uncomfortable, right? In our case, it was women feeling uncomfortable to raise their hand and say, please promote me. It's not fair to say, women, you have to behave differently. What is required is for the company and for the men to also behave differently and create that opportunity. So as a company, every company can track who's getting promoted and what rate. It's not super hard math. So they should be doing that. And when they see differences, they should be fixing it. Because there's no difference in talent.
But you're known to believe that managers should actually have less power. Yes. If a more powerful manager had the wherewithal to note great employees under their business unit, then this would solve itself. But you're saying do the opposite.
Yeah, because managers aren't that helpful. It's important to have a manager. Sometimes you're lucky enough to have a great one. Most of us over our careers just have kind of average managers, and we spend a lot of time managing them, trying to make sure they're happy with us, do what it takes to please them, when instead we should be doing what's right for our customers, for our users, and focusing on that. So by taking power away from managers, so for example at Google, a manager can't pick who to hire, they can't make promotion decisions. By taking all that away, what's left is the manager's just there as a coach to help people, and then the infrastructure of the company, my team.
Okay, but if that's the case, then we're putting the wrong people in management, because normally high performers, oftentimes those brutally focused on the bottom line, are put in management positions, and I would never call those people coaches.
Well, I think a lot of times we do, and a lot of companies we do. This is one of the problems we're kind of grappling with, and we're trying to figure out how other companies do it as well. But the idea is that most people who are managing don't do a good job of it. Right? Or they don't do a perfect job, they don't do as good. And so by finding ways to sort of unlock the power of the team and give the team more freedom and take power away from the managers, you actually get better decisions.
So what else have you learned through data?
Well, let's see. Another thing we worked on was we want, back to this notion of happiness. We want people to be healthy. We feed people. We give people free food, free snacks, and we just figured, people are going to be happier and more productive if they're healthier. It'll save on the health insurance costs and so on as well. Has
it saved on health insurance costs? Because just yesterday we learned Sprint is going to stop doing that, and it's going to save them $600 grand.
Yeah, it actually, what we've seen is we did simple things, like, for example, where you go to get drinks at Google. We put water and sort of healthy beverages behind clear glass, and unhealthy beverages, sugary drinks, behind opaque glass. People take more water than the unhealthy drinks. What we found is over the last couple of years, our health insurance costs, actually, we've sort of bent the curve on that. They're going up everywhere. Ours are going up as well. But the rate at which they're increasing slowed dramatically, and we think it's in part because of all these initiatives around health and these small nudges.
Millennials. We hear so much about millennials want what they need. Two questions. Are they these unbelievable performers that we need to satisfy? And what is it that's most important? And you cannot say social good, because I'm so tired of that answer.
Okay, I'll skip the social good part. What we see is that when you talk to millennials, at least at Google, and when we go on campus and interview millennials, they say they want freedom, they want autonomy, they want impact, yeah, social good as well. They want all this stuff, right? But it's funny, when you go back and talk to people who've been in the workforce for 20 years or 40 years, and you say, what do you want out of your job? They actually say the same things. It's just 20 years ago, you couldn't ask for that stuff. So millennials are way more vocal, but they want the same things actually all of us want. And if you're 50 years old or 60 years old and in the workforce, what we see is people at that age also want freedom, autonomy, the ability to have an impact. And so we try to engineer the company to give that to everybody. And that, by the way, attracts millennials.
Can mature companies change their ethos to start satisfying employees with not just compensation, with not just big management jobs? One might say it's easier for Google to do it. You're trying, you're the first of your kind.
Well, what's kind of cool is there's been companies, we actually weren't the first. There's a lot of companies that have been doing this without the science and data, but just because they kind of had a good instinct.
Like who?
There's a company called Wegmans, Northeast grocery chain.
Know it.
Family-owned chain. 1% profit margins. Most of their employees are high school graduates, not master's and PhD students like ours. And they've always given their employees freedom. Their COO, Jack DePeters, told me this great story about this bakery worker who had a customer call. Customer basically said, got a wedding tomorrow, cake got screwed up, can somebody help me? Do you have anything? So this bakery worker shuts down the bakery completely, bakes a cake, delivers it 3 or 4 hours away from the store, completely shuts down, store loses a day of revenue from the bakery. Guy comes back to the bakery, and his manager says that was the right thing to do.
If you were to give advice to an employee in how do you get more out of your job, how do you perform better, what would it be?
The biggest thing you can do is sort of focus on what's the right thing for the end user. Whether it's your customer, whether it's users like we have, just focus on doing the right thing for them, and everything else will work out.
Well, hold on. What's the right thing? The right thing for them, listen, if I'm somebody who shops at Neiman Marcus, the right thing is sell me things at 70% off. But that's not the right thing for the store.
Well, here's what I'd say. I would say take a small risk that place things in favor of your customers. So for example, we have this online sales organization. What they do is basically if you're a small, medium business, you're trying to figure out how to advertise on Google, they help you. And so we have people on our team who all day are answering the same question again and again from, a family-owned boot manufacturer or what have you. And one of these people once, when helping a customer, kind of said, is there anything else I can do? And the customer literally said, well, I'm really hungry, I'd love a pizza. And so they ordered a pizza for the guy and expensed it. And it was $20, and it was kind of a crazy, weird, kind of dumb thing to do. Customer loved it, and the manager kind of looked at it and said, okay, well, if it was the right thing to do. So for $20, we won the lifetime loyalty of this customer because this employee said, yeah, I'll order you a pizza. Sure.
All right, here's my takeaway. Do things that are so crazy, they just might work. Laszlo, thank you so much,
thank you so much
for joining me. Laszlo Bock, Google's SVP of People Operations.